What is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to relate to other parents, to show them that their situation is not so unique, that other people have already gone through what they're going through. They have overcome the obstacle that they're currently going through, and just some insights on how you could overcome. If I did it, you can do it too. And also the value of learning and not just doing what you've been taught, not just going with what you know, but to learn about parenting. If you got one child, this is your first time being a parent. How do you know if what you're doing is effective? You don't have no experience. This is your first experience. You've never been a parent before. So how do you know? That's what this podcast is about. It's just about opening your mind to learn other perspectives. So can you give the people a little bit of background about yourself as a parent? You got the floor, Rochelle.
Well, my name is Rochelle. I am a first-time parent. Don't have any experience, but I am the oldest of seven, so I do have some experience with having responsibility, getting them ready for school, cooking for them, helping them with homework. So I definitely had responsibility. And my mom had a newborn when I was 12. So I always thought it was like, that's my child because he had to go everywhere with me. So I feel like I've been a parent, but now I have the experience of having my own child. Um, and he's 4 now. He'll be 5 in September. And it has been a journey. It definitely been a journey. But I do thank God for it. And it's definitely teaching me and showing me myself along the journey.
Fantastic. Thank you for being open and vulnerable and willing. Thank you for being willing to do this. Because a lot of people, they scared, they hide behind the camera and they just be going through the comments and just lurking and they don't interact. Thank you for being able to be willing to interact. So let's get into some of these questions. How would you describe your parenting style in 3 words?
In 3 words, I would describe my parenting style structural, empathetic, and intentional.
Okay, structural, empathetic, and intentional. Okay, very good. When did you first start noticing your son's strong personality traits?
Yeah, since he was about 1 or 2, I started noticing that he was not afraid to let me know what it is that he wanted. Very demanding at that time, and yeah, he just had a strong sense of himself.
Dad, even at 2 years old.
Yes, yes.
So, for some context, Rochelle's son is an ESTJ, what they call the overseer or the judicator. They are natural born leaders. They are very direct, and a lot of times they like a what you call like a big teddy bear. Like they might seem rough on the exterior, but on the interior they're really soft. A little boss. Do you ever feel like he's like a little boss? And how do you navigate the power struggle? Because you're the parent, and he want to be the boss, but you the boss. So how y'all navigate that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when he makes demands, like for example, when he wants to eat, he'll let me know, Mom, I want pizza. And sometimes I let him have unhealthy meals, but we don't have it. I don't let him have it every day. So when he's demanding, Mom, I want pizza because he loves pizza, I let him know, no, you're not having pizza, and I give him choices that I'm okay with. So I'll say, you either want to eat the grill wrap or you want tuna and crackers. And he'll get upset and say he don't want either. And I'm like, okay, well, when you're hungry, then you let me know which one that you want. It's not pizza, but I give him those choices again. And when he crosses the line with his tone, then I just let him know we don't talk to each other like that. That's disrespectful and that's unacceptable. And he'll go ahead and make the choice because if he's hungry and he loves to eat, he'll make the choice based off of what I give him.
Yeah, yeah. Boys love to eat. He a grown boy. He gonna be eating. He only what 4 or 5? How old is he now? 6.
He's 4.
He's
He's
4.
yes,
Oh yeah, he got a lot of eating to do. Growing up.
yes.
I was going to say what you did. I don't know if you So there's a phrase that you just how you said you give him choices that either choice that he picked is what you want. That's what they call a
Mhm.
Xanatos gambit. You ever heard of that?
No.
That's called that's what you call a Xanatos gambit, where you give somebody a certain set of choices, and no matter what they choose, it still benefit you. That's a good tactic, a Xanatos gambit.
What?
Yeah. That's something that I teach in my program. That's part of whether you know it or not, you on par for the course.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever catch yourself repeating patterns from your own childhood and like good or bad? Do you ever see yourself like repeating it?
Yes, I do, especially the classic because I said so. And
Mm.
sometimes I do catch myself when he says, "Mom, why?" And it's because I said so, but then I follow it up with giving him an explanation, a real explanation other than because I said so, so he can have an understanding for the future, the reason why I'm saying something.
Yeah,
So I want to raise him to think critically and respectfully. So
yeah,
that yeah, I've definitely fallen into the category of the
because I
because I
said
said
so.
yes.
How did you feel? You ever like look back and reflect on how it made you feel as a kid? Like, did you feel like, because actually, that's one of the videos I just shot. One, I told you I shot 3 videos this morning. One of them was
Hmm.
about because I said so. That's what the
Okay.
topic of it. And it's like, you don't want to raise kids to just be blindly obedient, but like you said, to have critical thinking. A lot
Hmm.
of time they're not trying to be disrespectful. They just curious. They kids. They still learning. They don't know nothing. How they gonna
Right.
learn unless they ask?
Right.
You feel me?
Yes.
So, but
So
yeah,
how did it make me feel? It made yeah, so when I was younger and I heard that um the tone was very aggressive,
mm,
so it made me afraid to express myself. And it went into my teenage years where I would internalize how I felt, but then it would show in rebellion and being secretive because I wasn't really able to express myself, or if I tried to, um, it would leave me being scolded or reprimanded,
yeah,
or I was in trouble in some type of way, punishment or something. Uh, but it was not a positive experience with me trying to express myself. Hence, I would always try to explain to, uh, I guess, having the last word, which I shouldn't have done, but I would try to explain. I wouldn't try to be disrespectful, but it did come across that way when I was told to be quiet, but I was still trying to explain. So um yeah, it wasn't a positive experience when and it made me feel uh the word I want to use, it made me feel like what I thought didn't matter.
what I thought didn't matter. So
Yeah.
and so feeling like that, did that draw you closer into your parents, or that make you more apart, where you don't feel that connection, you don't feel that relationship?
Yeah, it definitely pulled me apart and I gravitated more to my friends.
Mm,
At that time I was a very rebellious teenager growing up, and I had got so out of control, and then there was a point in time, I guess, where my mom was just all out of options.
uh,
And then she would sit down with me and then say, "Rochelle, what's going on? What's going on with you? Why are you acting like this?" But at that point,
so far.
like I was just yeah, I was so far gone and just didn't care. And I didn't want to open up to
See
her
that?
at that time.
You see that? So parents, if you're listening to this, consider that. Having that connection with your child and not shooing them off because I said so. But sit down, take the time and explain this is why it's this. So that they don't have to learn the hard way through trial and error on their own. This is like, again, this is a little kid. He don't have no experience. You the parent, you have all the experience. So let them learn through your experience. Teach them. All right, let's keep it going. Can you share a win? What has been a recent parenting win that you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so growing up in the household I grew up in, we were not affectionate, and
Mm,
it was very rarely verbalized to us, I love you. Um, we didn't give hugs. It was just no affection growing up. And ever since my child was in the womb, I made up my mind that I'm going to show my child is going to know that I love him, not only um, through the deeds that I'm doing by taking care of him, but through words, through
mm.
action. And I would just randomly like call him into the room where I am, and I'll give him a hug or I kiss him on his forehead and I tell him I love him. And now I guess I've done it so much. He does it back to me, and he'll come to where I am. He'll give me a hug and say, I love you, mom. And he'll kiss me
Oh,
on. So that is definitely a win, and a good win, I would say, as a parent, that I could show my child and be affectionate with them, even though I didn't have that growing up. And it had me to look for affection from other people, which led down different types of roads that I should have never went on, trying to look for that affection. But yeah, so that's a win for me, that I can
yeah.
express and tell my child that I love him, and he knows it, and his face just lights up whenever I do those random acts.
That's fantastic. Now, Rochelle, what part of the country, where did you grow up and who raised you? Was it more so like a two-parent house? Was it more your mom's side, your dad's side, your grandparents? How were you raised?
Yeah, so I grew up in the south side of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, we grew up in the rough part actually. And um so my parents were teenagers when they had me. So 16, 17, and by the time I was 3 years old, they separated,
Mm,
and my mom married. uh she married, and I call him my dad even to this day. He raised us, took care of us, provided for us. I was living with my mother and my dad, well, the man that she married. I didn't have a relationship with my biological father until adulthood.
mm. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see, and I ask because there's so many people from different walks of life. Some people grow up in the suburbs. Some people grow up out in the country, out in the boonies. Some people grow up in the city, in a nice city, in a rough city. So trying to get more perspectives from multiple different walks of life. So it's good to share, where did you come from and how did you get here?
Mhm.
Okay, how do you balance? So if your son is very like strong-minded and you say your parenting style is structure, how do you balance structure and nurture? How you do that?
Yeah, yeah. So I try to get to his level. Literally, I'll kneel down to his level, and we're eye to eye. And
Mm,
I let him know that this behavior is unacceptable. And then I let him explain, because I can be upset, and it'll be my way. But I try to be calm in that moment, and I get down to his level, and then I'll let him explain. And then after letting him explain himself, and then I'll go ahead and I'll explain myself, and I'll let him know that the next time this happens, there'll be consequences. And
mm,
then I also let him repeat what it is that I said, so that I know he has an understanding. It's based off of his level, but if you kind of speaking the same thing, I know that you understand what it is that I'm
right,
saying,
right.
or that he does. And so he'll explain it again, and then I'll let him know, okay, there'll be consequences the next time you do this act again. Before I just go into disciplinary mode, I try to go ahead and just let him explain himself first.
That's very good. I don't know about you, but I got a lot of beatings coming up. It wasn't a whole bunch of explaining. We go to the beatings first.
That's right.
You feel me?
That's right.
So that's how do you How did you get a lot of spankings coming up?
Spankings or whatever. I had to go get my own switch off the tree.
Yeah,
My own switch. We got pretty much whatever was in arm's reach.
right.
I got it. And definitely not to say that, I mean, I was abused. Definitely. I agree that my actions were uh because I was in trouble, but I always say my parents only could do what they were taught. And then they were children themselves, having children,
Exactly.
so really didn't have the knowledge or the experience to be able to parent. So they just did what they knew. Um, which is not an excuse, and just to my sad regret, that's just, how things are at times. So I definitely wanted to do things differently when I became a parent. I still want to have the structure, still want to give discipline, um, but at the same time want to be able to let my child give his point of view. Not to say that it doesn't matter, but just to like steer it in the right direction that it should be in.
Exactly. I agree. Now, Rochelle, on a side note, I'm having a hard time. Which way do I look? Should I look here at my computer, or should I be looking here at the camera? Because it's like once I post the video, it's going to see me looking back and forth. Like I don't know. What do you think? What is your opinion on this? Because this is feel very awkward looking at this camera, but you over here in my peripheral, and it's like I'm trying to like get your facial expression and reply. But if I
Oh,
look
really?
at you, I'm looking at you. Now it's like I'm not being conscious.
Right. It's not like you're not being conscious of me right here, but you've been doing a great job looking at me and responding accordingly. But I didn't know I was down there. I thought,
Yeah, you down here. Like I keep going back and forth. So when I edit this video, I don't know. But I'm gonna just let it flow. I'm gonna keep this in there and keep it real raw and authentic. I'm probably just gonna be looking back and forth, just like whatever. I don't know. All right, let's see. We got like four more. If your son could describe you as a parent when he's grown, what would you want him to say?
yeah, I would want him to say that my mom loved me unconditionally.
Mm,
My mom taught me the importance of having a relationship with God. Um, she taught me how to be responsible, how
mm,
to work hard, how to forgive, um, and that I can express myself without being disrespectful.
yeah. And you know, the very fact that you're doing this interview, this podcast, it showed that you are taking the steps towards that outcome. If you want him to talk about you in that manner, you're doing what it takes. Sometimes parents are closed-minded and nobody can tell me. You can't tell me nothing. You ain't got no kids. Don't tell me how to raise my kids. I know how
Mhm.
to raise my kids, but just you're a first-time parent. How do you know how to raise your kids?
Right.
How do you know okay, you said how people just go with what they know. And some people might say, I know how to raise my kids. I know what I'm doing. Or they say, I got all these beatings. Look at how good I turned out. How good did you turn out?
Right.
Look at the results. You say
Yeah.
I'm just doing what I know. I'm repeating my parents beat me, so I'm gonna beat my kids. My parents
Hmm.
told me, get out my face and go to your room. I tell my kids, get out my face and go to your room. Okay.
Hmm.
If it worked for you, how did it work for you? What are your results? What is your relationship with your parents? How do you think your children are going to have the same relationship with you? Do you want your children to have the same relationship with you that you currently have with your parents? Think about that. All right, let's keep it moving. And what's one thing that you didn't expect about parenting that hit you hard? Something that you didn't expect.
Yeah. The first thing, honestly, I didn't think I'd be parenting alone.
Hmm.
Secondly, that parenting would reflect my own relationship with God. The times where I'm disobedient and when I know to do right and I don't do it, I see that in my son as it relates to me and him. And
Exactly.
oh, I be like, Lord have mercy on me. And because I let him know, you know what to do, you know to do right, but you're just not doing it. And like right when I say those words, the light shines on me because
Exactly. You feel like you're talking to self.
and all I can just say, Lord have mercy, because I don't want to be hypocritical. Like I don't want to be a hypocrite. And so that it yeah, I didn't expect that. And also I didn't expect to see myself in my son, um as it correlates with my relationship with my mother. As I mentioned, with having the last word, oftentimes, and he's just 4. He would like always still try to explain himself when I would tell him something to try to have the last word. And I'm just like, just be quiet already. Like you about to
Yeah.
make me upset. And so I kind of am in my mom's shoes in that instance, because I would always try to have the last word, and I see myself in my son. See my son, see me in my son when he does that to me.
Yeah.
So those are some things that I definitely didn't expect.
Yeah. Do you ever struggle with guilt, burnout, or comparing yourself to other moms?
Um, Definitely, I do. Um, I work full time to provide for me and my son, and there's a sister who keeps him for me during the day, and she's been keeping him for a while now. I would say about a couple years already.
Wow.
And while I had to work, and I didn't plan on having to work. I wanted to be a part of my son's life, especially during the phase where he's growing up. So I I thank God for her, but I feel guilty because I feel like I should be showing him the things that she's teaching him, having all that time spent with him.
Mm.
And I thank God for her, because of her, she's been teaching him like preschool things he should know. Um, and I just feel like I missed out on that because I had to make a decision to work. I have to work, and so I do feel guilty in that aspect. Um, but I just grieve the time that I wanted to spend with him during that time.
Yeah.
So life didn't go as planned, and they just sit hard with me some days.
Did you get to see him take his first steps?
Yeah. So for that part, so she's been helping me with him since he was about 3.
Mm.
So and he's about to be so probably going on 2 years. But like those big first steps and things like that. So he was in daycare since he was 2 months. So
Mm.
it's just been a lot of things. Um, like because I had initially, when planning on before he was born, I had planned on, being an at-home mom,
Mm.
like teaching him the basics before starting to go to school. And he's been in daycare since he was 2 months. So a lot of things I kind of missed out, but the daycare would send me steps of him where they would teach him how to walk. So they would like send me videos. So I would see it like that. And excuse me right quick.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good.
Yeah, the last time this boy bust his eye jumping, flipping off my bed. So
I broke my arm like that. I broke my
what?
arm 3 times.
Are
The
you
second
serious?
time I broke it, we had them the old school radiators, like the cast iron radiators. I did a
Oh my,
backflip in the house. I did a backflip off the radiator and I landed on my wrist. I heard it crack. It sounded like you cracking knuckles, but when I looked at it,
yeah.
the bone was hanging off the side.
Oh, David.
That was the second
Oh,
time I broke my arm. In fact, I broke my arm 4 times because since as an adult, I broke my arm again as an adult in like 2019. Yeah.
not right now. He
So
just
how is
wants
it
to.
raising a boy? He be roughhousing? Y'all be like playing it, like fighting and stuff? How is it?
I used to try to just play with him, but he's too rough.
You
He's too
too
rough, and I can't I don't like that.
rough.
He's too rough for me. Too rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to try to like wrestle with him and stuff. Yeah, I don't do that no more.
How do he ever express like because he's the only child, right?
with me. His father has a daughter, and she's 18 though.
Oh,
So yeah, there's a big age difference between the two, but he's with me primarily, so he's the only child here.
did he ever talk about that? Like he wish he had a brother, somebody he could play with, and like, cause me and my
Yeah, he
brother,
did.
we used to fight and wrestle all the time.
Yeah, he did ask me that and let me know he want a little sister.
Oh,
I say, well, you better pray to God. You better pray to God, send me a husband or something because yeah, I don't know where she gonna come she gonna come
yeah.
from.
Ain't no stork gonna come drop her off. How the last our last talk? Do you remember I recommended two things?
I remember you recommended to let him know what he should do.
Yeah,
And I've implemented that and I see I've been getting results with him because it kind of like hits him and then he thinks about it because he always want to say, I'm a good kid. Mom, like when he does do something good and he said, Mom, I'm a good kid. So I think that's something that he strives or really wants to be. And
hmm,
when he's acting out, like for instance, just now, and then when I say let him know that good kids don't act like this. You want to be a good kid, right? And then he kind of reflects
yeah,
instantly and like, yeah, like I forgot about that. So, and then like his expression changed, his whole attitude would just change in an instant.
yeah. Remember, I don't know if you remember, but I also said to show him how he's embarrassing himself. But they want to be held in high regard. They want to be a leader. And like you said, good kids don't act like this. Leaders don't act like this. You are embarrassing
Mhm.
yourself. You making yourself look like a fool. Do you want to look like a fool?
Mhm.
So, and then the choices. I see you've been giving them the choices. So the last three things. What kind of man? I don't know if I asked you this already, but what type of man do you hope your son grows up to be?
I I hope he grows up to be, first of all, a God-fearing man,
Right?
someone who loves people, who's able to love, someone who respects women, someone who isn't selfish, someone who isn't afraid to lead. Uh, I would hope that he's hardworking, humble, not arrogant or prideful.
Hmm.
A man, honestly, a man who just lives by the Holy Scripture. That good man, a good man,
Yeah.
a real man, not no jelly bag,
What?
but a real man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just really lacking in today's society, and because of lack of teaching,
Yeah.
um, lack of applied knowledge, and that's what kind of man I hope he would turn out to be.
I agree. When you say a lack of teaching and a lack of examples, how important do you think it is to have conversations like this and like to have it openly in public in a public square where everybody can listen and learn from it? How important are these conversations?
I believe they are very important. A lot of times we're on our own trying to figure things out, and I believe in community, especially something that's positive, something that's uplifting, and we can all learn from each other and feed off of feed off of each other and get results, hopefully.
Exactly. How you said feed off each other. Because if you're only looking at life from your own perspective, you can't see other perspectives. If you're not willing to listen and learn from other people, you're going to be limited to what kind of results you can produce. Because you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You didn't even know that you didn't know that because you never exposed yourself to that.
Mhm.
What advice would you give young Rochelle if you could go back in time? So what advice would you give your younger self or the next generation of sisters that's coming up now? What advice would you give them?
To my younger self, I would say listen to my parents. They tried to do their best with what they knew, and I was just totally out of control, totally disrespectful, and I had to repent to them in my adulthood for my actions and the way that I was, and just with not knowing that I was cutting my life short by being disrespectful to them. So I had to repent to them, and I wish I would have listened and because I left home when I was 17. Soon as my graduation date, I graduated at 17. That night, man,
Ah,
I was gone. So living life, and I just got entangled into so many things. And if I had to do it over again, I wish I would have went back home and just really listened. And I was so hard headed. So if I could tell my younger self, I believe I could be so much further and not have gotten myself into so many things that I did. But if I had not gone through that, then I wouldn't be in this place that I am in today. So at the same time, it's bittersweet, but I thank God for it.
yeah. You know, and we can cut this next part out if you want. But people say that as like they say I don't have no regrets. If I could go back, I wouldn't change nothing because it helped me to be who I am today.
Hmm.
I don't agree with that. I got plenty of regrets. If I could go back, I would change a whole lot of stuff. And I would probably
Yeah.
would be a better person than who I am today. Um,
Yeah, I definitely have regrets. I regret a lot of things, a whole lot of things. And at the same time, while I have those regrets, it's only by the mercy of God that He worked that all out for my good today,
yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes
But
sense.
I definitely do have regrets. Like even to this day, I wish there was some things I didn't do. I wish there was some people that I just really didn't meet. I just really wish like, but I know it's nothing that I can change
Right,
now, but I definitely
right.
have those regrets. And if I could do it over, I would want to. But I know that I'm in this situation and I know that's not going to happen. But if I could, I would, most definitely.
So what advice would you give to the next generation? What can they learn from your mistakes? Or what can they learn from your experience so they don't have to have that experience themselves? So they don't have to touch the hot stove. You already touched the hot stove. What advice would you offer a willing ear to listen?
Yeah, I would definitely say like find a community, I mean, such as this, or some other people that have experience or don't have experience, but have the teaching and the knowledge to be able that you would just listen and be open-minded. That's what I would say. Be open-minded. Don't be closed-minded about because you think you know everything, because we don't know everything. And we can always learn no matter how old we are, we can we can always learn from somebody else. I mean, even from the children, we can learn from them.
Exactly.
And so I would just say, just have an open mind to be a part of a community on something, whatever topic that it is that you're interested in, and yeah, always have an open mind to want to learn.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time and openness and willingness and vulnerability and your stories and experiences. And because this is very important. Our parents didn't have this. Our grandparents didn't have this. All they had was what they knew. It wasn't no
Mhm.
internet. It wasn't no a global community. I'm in Baltimore. You in Texas. Things are different. I was raised in a certain way. You were raised in a certain way. And the more people I have come on and talk about and tell their stories, we get more perspectives and learn more things from more people. And
Mhm.
I think it's very important to have these conversations. And I'm grateful and I respect you for this. And I hold you in high regard for this.
Well,
So,
I thank God. I thank God for you even giving me the opportunity to be able to share. Honestly, this is something I never thought I would be doing. I mean, just trying to figure things out. And with the conversations that we've had, and this book that you recommended to me,
hey!
yeah, and definitely with the teaching that I've been getting from church, it has really helped a lot, and with helping to mold and shape my son uh to hopefully become the man that I described. So I thank God for you, Devin, and even with all that you're doing to even having the mind to help us in these situations. So I find it helpful.
Thank you, Rochelle. I thank God for you, and I'm glad you got that book, and I'm glad you got your son early. Like we can start molding them early, and he got to learn. He got to go through all this foolishness and all this trial and error and learn the hard way. Got him early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, that's it. That's it for this interview, for this podcast, for this episode, whatever you want to call it. I hope y'all got some value out of this. And Lord willing, I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Very good, Rochelle. Yeah. Cut this joint. And then I don't think I'm gonna cut the recording yet. So what you think? What's okay? A review, a testimonial. How did this go? You think what could have been better? What was not so good? What do you think?
On my end, getting interrupted by my son, so having to do this at the same time deal with him, that was something I would do
And you
different.
said he was loud in the background. I didn't even hear him in the background. I didn't know nothing
Really?
was going on until you said something.
This boy flipping, making all kind of noise, banging on the walls. All that. I was trying to ignore it, but I'm like, man, he doing too much. He gonna hurt himself again.
Oh
And
yeah.
then he was on the floor crying, beckoning there on my leg. I'm like, oh.
That.
So that, yeah, that with him. I mean, but as far as us though, I think it went well. I mean,
Yeah.
for us to say the other night that we're gonna do this, you
Right.
got the question, I got the answers. It turned out pretty good.
Okay, what do you think about this? If you watching the podcast and the host is on his phone looking at the questions and reading them off his phone, what do you think about that? Do I lose credibility? Is that ghetto? Like, what? How you gonna have be on the show? What you think about that?
No, you could just know. What did you say that you was did you say that's what you was doing?
Okay, if I mention it, if I say that that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so that you can just make sure you don't miss anything. I'm gonna be pick up the questions right here.
Yeah. Okay, I should mention it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I also take notes because sometimes you be saying something and I don't want to cut you off. So I write down what I want to say before I forget because I know I get squirrel brain and I forget what I was going to say. I'm like, Dad, what was I about to say? No, I learned from experience. I had to write the notes down.
Yeah. So as long as you explain that's what you're doing, yeah, that's good.
Okay. How about this thing looking back and forth with the eyes? If you was watching the podcast and you seen the host, one clip, he's standing, he's right here looking at the camera, talking to the person, and then the next clip, you see him looking down here talking to the person, and it's not congruent. What you think about that?
Well, I would, of course, wonder what it is that you're looking at, but as long as as long as we know you have two cameras, you're looking at two cameras, as long as you verbalizing that and letting us know.
Okay. So I need to
But
let
when
people
you're
know this.
looking at me, yeah, just communicate. That's all.
So should I communicate the same thing at the beginning of every episode, or should I make like, mm,
As you're doing it, if that's what you do, just go ahead and insert that right then.
yeah,
Even though when I was we were talking, I didn't see you going back and forth.
yeah, I was going back and forth though. Like to especially in the beginning, I was looking down here, and then I said to myself, "Hold up, Dev. If you're talking to somebody, like if we was talking face to face, I'm not gonna be looking at your neck the whole time. I'm gonna be supposed to be looking in your face.
Right.
So it's just like, huh? But no, yeah, this was good. This was good, and I'm about to chop it up right now.
Really?
I'm about to mess with this right now.
Okay.
And
Nice.
yeah, I think this is really good, and I appreciate you for doing this.
Yeah.
And
Thank
you
you for
setting the
having me.
tone, and you leading the way. You blazing the trail. Many people are going to come after this because they're going to be inspired by what you're doing. Just like
Come
with the
on.
fitness stuff. I'm telling you.
Ah, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad you got me on though. I appreciate it. I
yeah.
mean, it's definitely uh speaking of being vulnerable, like when you initially asked me the struggles of being a parent, it's like that was on my mind for about 3 days because like I said,
Oh,
nobody had never asked me that. And uh I really got into a space Like I really reflected on self. So I was very vulnerable because I guess because I suppress it a lot with trying to be strong and not expressing that that like I have struggles, with being a parent. And when you asked me that, it had me to really sit and
Reflect
think. Yeah. And I spent some time
and
just thinking
assess,
about it. Yeah.
self-assessment.
Yeah. So like it's been helpful. It's been helpful, and
So
I'm
what do you think about the trope, the strong black woman? I don't need no man. I can do it all by myself. What you think about that?
no, I don't. In times past, like before, like I was that woman. I was that independent woman. I don't need no man for nothing. But one thing, and that was it. Like I used to be that woman, and like now, I don't agree.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
You know, a lot of time we hear about toxic relationships. Women talk about how they got out of an abusive relationship. And that's a very common story to hear, but it's rare to hear about women saying how they missed out on a good man or they messed up a good man or they had the other side of strong black woman, I don't need no man.
Hmm.
How like okay, so I'm trying to get the younger generation, the next generation, because the older generation is kind of like I can't I don't know. I think it'll be easier to get the next generation coming up. And if they see this, if they have examples of this, people do what they know. If all you see is a bunch of Cardi B twerking and rapping and acting like a fool, people do what they see. So if you give them a good example to see, then they know what they have other options. So, what do you think about the topic of the women who plus some women get shamed or shunned for wanting to be a wife, a mother. They're like, ew. Some women like, ew, you want to be a wife and a mother? Don't you want to? You should want to be a strong, independent woman, a career woman who drive a Bentley and you can do your own thing. Why would you want to be a wife and a mother? What do you say to the women, to the young sisters who want to be a wife and a mother, and they don't want to be thoughts? What do you say to them sisters?
Most definitely, I definitely agree, and I've also been had conversation with women who when I expressed that I wanted to be I want a wife, like I mean, Lord have mercy, that I want to be that I want a husband, and she looked at me like something was wrong with me, like what? You want to be an independent, strong woman, and I'm like. She was like, "Cause you're gonna have to listen to them and do what they say." And I was like, "I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that." And it was just really like in the times that we in, I kind of made me open my eyes to see like the generation that's not it's not popular at all. And to be honest, like the teaching that I've been getting from church, that's what got me to this place. Because like I said, I used to be that woman, the independent woman. And after getting the teaching about marriage, according to the law, to God's law, I had a desire. I I had a desire to be a wife, and a desire to have a family, and knowing that you would have to be submissive, and unto the husband. And I didn't have a problem. Like I don't know what happened to me. I don't know what happened to me on the inside, but my whole perspective about it has really changed about it. And to speak to that generation, the generation that's coming up that desire those things, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's
Yeah,
a beautiful thing. Like it's the way that marriage was intended to be. It wasn't
yeah.
intended for you to be doing it all by yourself. I mean, even though it's possible, but I don't want to do it by myself. If I'm being real, I don't want to do it by myself. I don't. I want to be led in the right way. Like that's just me. I don't know. Some people may be different, but
Yeah, no, don't try to
oh,
qualify it and be like, oh, this is because I hear people say, like they'll say something religion, they'll be like, oh, but I'm not religious. No, if you say something, if you believe God, then say that you believe God. Don't try to pull it back and reel it back like, oh, I don't want nobody to. No, I don't want to do it by myself. Then say that and stand on that.
I do. I do.
Yeah, to be led the right way. That's why it's important to vet the man first and get the commitment first, and to have other men in your life who can vet the man for you. Because a lot of times women are emotional and they disregard the red flags. But if you got brothers in your life, you got men in your life who will vet the man and tell you this guy ain't no good, and listen to him when they tell you that he ain't no good.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like before in times past, like I would have that I had that issue where I'm just looking like just one way and I'm not saying I'm like it's a red flag, but then I'll brush it off to the side and
Yeah,
maybe he can change, maybe no, he's showing like I've learned now he's showing you himself. And so I with experience, man, I've had a lot of experience, and like now you can't just come to me no any kind of way. And yeah, because I see how like I see right through that. Not to say that I can't be taught up or nothing like that, but I've had some experience, so I can see some things like, and I guess that's why I don't get approached a lot. Very rarely because I don't have time for foolishness.
exactly. If you don't carry yourself like somebody who is to be approached a lot, then you're not going to get approached a lot. Certain women, they attract certain attention because they act a certain way. And certain
Mhm.
women repel certain attention because they act a certain way. How do you want to
Mhm.
be treated?
Right.
Do you want to be treated like they got this stuff on TikTok? They got a hashtag like the 304 life. Women who proudly promote, they say I'm pro ho, and it's
That's
promoted on
crazy.
TikTok. It's uh lifted up. It's like, yeah, be a hoe. And this is what the generation is seeing. This is what's laid in front of them. So we have to counter the argument and show them, no, there is a better life. You don't want to
Right.
be a hoe. That's not a good life.
Right. Right.
And that's why it's important to have these conversations and for people to come up and tell that story and to not just be on the comments lurking all the time. Get involved.
Mhm.
I can go on and on and on. Rochelle, I can go on and on and on. Anything you want to end on?
I don't know, like we don't really get to have these conversations. I don't know because people, kind of, I don't know. I would say reserved or scared. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but like internalize these things with speaking about it and with marriage and relationships and things like this like when you just said, "Oh, somebody probably just got offended," but why would you get offended when this is real life
This is
things that
real
we're trying
life.
to keep our children from? Don't want them to go down that path. Like, don't even want to mention it. No, we need to talk about it. We
Yeah,
need to talk about it.
exactly.
So, eh, I oh no, Devin. Cause I guess because I've been in situations like with talking to different sisters and it's like, and I'll try to like have conversations, but then they'd be like, why are you talking about, why are you talking about that? And like, I'm not saying nothing vulgar or, disrespectful or anything like that, but I'm just speaking real life. And it's like, oh no, we can't have these, like,
Yeah, no.
so
Are those old sisters that's doing that?
it's sometimes, yeah, yeah, older, yeah.
There's a video. This guy was dancing in the middle of the crowd. They was like at some concert, and he was like doing like a real silly dance, just like it wasn't real orchestrated. He had really had no coordination. He was just dancing, and then all of a sudden, two other people came out there and started flailing with him. And next thing you know, it's like 30 people, 40 people, 50 people, 100 people all out there flailing around dancing with him. It take one person. It take one spark to set the whole forest on fire. But it start with one spark. You ever seen a wildfire? You remember wildfires had in California? You ever seen how
Mhm.
big and massive a wildfire is? But it only starts with one spark. These conversations can spark change. And that's why it's important to have these conversations, to talk about it, and not just be reserved, how you said, and be scared to talk about it. All you're doing is talking. It ain't like you about to
Mhm.
jump out of a plane. Just talk.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's good. I think you find more people just want to be on the listening, like can relate, but don't want to give that input. But I think it's good for us all to share our input and our thoughts about it.
Yeah. Or even write it. Even write it up. If you're the type of person who you don't want to get on camera, then write it up. Write an article
Yeah.
about it. You feel me? Something.
So
Do something.
do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was good, Rochelle. It's 1 o'clock. I'm gonna go shoot these other two videos and give me something to eat.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you very much so.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Peace,
All
baby.
right. Peace.